Hello everyone, this is Supersnoopy here, back with another SWTOR Republic video. Today I have for you guys another SWTOR Republic discussion episode. And today's episode is actually going to be about a class, what it takes to actually figure out the rotation, operations, flashpoints, just how your class overall does in all these different categories. But I thought this would be an interesting episode to actually do, since some people wonder, what their class is meant for, how to actually learn to play the class. And I'm just going to be discussing all of that. And yeah. So if you guys enjoy this SWTOR Republic discussion episode, as always, if you guys enjoy these episodes, then make sure to leave a like. And if you guys want some nice game glasses, then check the links around below. No scope game glasses. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys in the discussion. Alright guys, so let's just start this discussion right off here. Now the question that's on everybody's mind is, how do you play your class? I mean, it's not that hard to answer, but it can be difficult at the same time. I mean, each different class in SWTOR Republic has some unique ability, whether it's DPS, tank, or heals. And then they also have different rotations that help them with overall getting the best of their ability and doing the most damage or anything else for their actual class. Now, I mean, this can be somewhat difficult to actually do if you're not careful. Now, what I mean by that is sometimes when people play classes, they honestly, they just level up an ult. They don't really care too much about how their ult does. They just want to level up a character, a tune, or something. And, I mean, one thing about that is that can be useful, but at the same time, it can't. Now, what I mean by this is that from time to time, when you're playing SWTOR Republic, you may notice that someone might not know their spec, or they don't know what DPS they are. Obviously, you won't run into this when you're level 60, but when you're just starting out, there's going to be players that have no idea how to play their class, what DPS is, tank, heals, they don't know. But, I mean, the trick is to teach someone the class is just by not only looking up guides, but learning about the obvious new discipline system that was added in a recent patch. But what it shows, I mean, this helps overall with learning your class because it shows the damage, the heals of whatever you're going to be. And, I mean, it's not too bad. It's not a bad system at all. But it does overall help some players with just learning what they need to be. Now, what I mean is that it used to be where there'd be a skill tree and you could pick multiple things, just what you want, only what you want, and nothing else. But obviously, times have changed, and now that is completely different. Now they just give you a set, I guess, a little tree, just to get damage and stuff. But I mean, overall, it's not too bad of a system. And obviously, this is starting to branch into the system itself, because that's what learning a class has to do with now. But it's not a bad system whatsoever, and I'm being honest about that. I mean, the only problem with it is it doesn't give you, I would say, as much freedom. I mean, there are some good abilities that this is added. For example, some of these abilities could only be, enabled with different specs, but now you can get it no matter what you are if you're a commando. So that's a plus overall, and it does help just make it really simple for people just starting the game. But I don't know, some of the abilities I did like that you can't get anymore with different specs, and yeah, that's just one thing right there. And, I mean, it's no big deal, and that's just my take on the discipline system. It overall helps people, just makes it simpler, but there's some things I don't like about it. So that's one thing, what it takes to play a class. Just use the discipline system, it'll help you a lot just by starting out. And then, besides that, there's other things. For example, when you're just, actually playing Warzones and stuff, or just doing PvE content, clearly you're going to learn how to play a class just by doing that. I mean, after playing that multiple times, you're obviously going to start to notice, hey, I need to use this ability or that ability. And, I mean, that's an easy way to think about it, but it can be really difficult after a while. Now, what I mean by that is, so say I'm just, just playing SWTOR Republic. Say I'm a shadow tank, right? And I'm just playing PvE content. I have no idea how to play this spec. I don't even pay attention to the discipline system. And I'm just, wheeling away with the lightsaber, just trying to actually hit people, do damage, and all that stuff. And after a while, you may notice there's different buffs on your tray down here. And obviously, that tells you a lot. I mean, when you're playing this game, I think it's pretty like common sense just to know that if there's buffs on your trade, clearly they're gonna do something. But you can just learn that way, learning your class. You can also just look up guides. Like I said, guides are really useful if you like have no idea about your class and you're like, hey, I just want to run in ult today. I'm gonna make a Marauder right now, and you have no idea how to play the class. Just look up some guides. I mean, that's one way to think of it. Just look up guides, and that'll be all good for you. And then not only that, after you're done that, you can go ahead, play with the class, see different abilities, what the actual stats you need for a class. Those are just some basic guidelines just to learn a class. So that's a plus. And I mean, there's different categories as well. I mean, after you learn a class, you clearly need to know how to use it in operations in war zones, but that's just a completely different story. I mean, more or less, just learning your class just with a few tips. It's just looking up guides, looking at the discipline system. That's a really big plus. If you aren't into guides or reading for a while, I mean, just look in the discipline system, see what each thing actually does for you, and then just go from there. I mean, really simple. But for operations, flashpoints and stuff, obviously there's different mechanics in different operations and flashpoints and all that. So that's a different story. I mean, that will require everyone, not only your class, to learn stuff. Since obviously you are going to need to use some tactics for certain ones. For example, you just have like new operation level 60 ones. You have some of the new hard mode flashpoints. Those are like stuff you can't just walk in there not knowing your class, because you'll obviously die and get destroyed really quickly. So that's just a heads up right there if you haven't done those yet. And overall, I mean, it isn't too bad. I mean, class, just learning class hasn't been too difficult for me. I'm pretty sure it isn't difficult for others. I mean, all it takes is just playing an ult, learning about the class, and overall doing whatever you need to actually figure out everything else. I mean, the rest is just up to you. I mean, all there is just learning the class, discipline system, guides, and that's about it. And I mean, if you're just one that just plays the story, then go right ahead. I mean, you still might need to actually learn how to work with a character. I mean, it's not just like, oh, I just play the story in Star Wars: The Old Republic, I don't need to learn anything about the class. Well, I mean, that may be a bit incorrect, because after a while, it will become really difficult if you don't know your spec when you're trying to do the story. And I have learned that the hard way, because I remember when I was actually leveling this commando, I was like level 20, and I had no abilities besides hammer shot and explosive round. Yeah, that sounds really newbie, but that sounds terrible, but that's just a prime example of how stupidity can overall ruin the experience. I was like, why is this game so difficult? And it's like, oh, wait, you just click the abilities and you can see them all. Then I felt really stupid for a while, but, I mean, that happened. I was a noob back then, had no idea how to really play this game, since overall this was my first MMO, and it still is. I don't plan on playing really any other MMOs. I just mainly play Star Wars: The Old Republic. But when I first played this game, I was a complete noob, and I'm pretty sure other people were, and they have to learn the hard way, just like myself. But overall, I guess you could say that was the Star Wars: The Old Republic discussion video. So just to recap, all that it takes to actually learn your class is just some persistence, looking up guides, the new discipline system, and overall just learning by your own playtime experience. And that will just honestly help you figure out everything, and you'll have a good day in Star Wars: The Old Republic. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Star Wars: The Old Republic discussion series. As always, if you guys enjoy these videos, then make sure to leave a like and leave a comment down below if you have a different suggestion for the actual discussion series. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, if you did, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.